Now listen, I'm not a guy to just jump the gun and just give an outrageous take before we even really get into the thick of things because to be perfectly clear, bro, this faction literally just started, if you really think about it, right after WrestleMania. And I know WrestleMania feels like it was ages ago, but it really wasn't. It was what? Not even a month ago just yet. So let's hold our horses. But we do need some things, we have some things we need to talk about. I go by the name of Black Couch Booking. If you're new to the channel, please like, comment, subscribe. If you're old to the channel, Couch Crew, you already know the vibes, man. You guys are having a great day today. This is the second of a double upload, so please go on my channel and check out the previous upload that I did today. And I really want to get into this video topic, so let's get it. Let's go. Um, oh, by the way, Discord is in the link in the description down below. Follow me on Instagram at Real Black Couch Booking and join my Patreon where we have exclusive great wrestling content and self-improvement content, and the prices are at an all-time low. So go join my Patreon and become, a Patreon member today. Is Seth's faction going to work? Is it failing right now? It's not failing right now. There have been moments and spurts that have built intrigue, such as the debut of Braun Breaker joining the faction, such as Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins, doing what they did at WrestleMania, and Bronson Reed coming back and joining the faction. There have been big moments. And what makes, factions and stables and tag teams great over the years, over the time that they are formed together are moments. So far, they've had, three big moments. The question that I think we really need to ask ourselves is what does Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed get out of this? Braun Breaker was a pleasant surprise. I will say that, but I will say I don't think he needed to be in this faction looking back at it now, because he was already on an upward trajectory. You know what I'm saying? Like losing his IC title. The IC title has, to me, gone back to this is probably the title that's going to get you to the World Heavyweight or WWE Championship, as we've seen with Gunther. And I think Braun Breaker was about to follow, or is still going to follow a similar path. But why I'm trying to think of why he would be in this faction besides just Paul Heyman is going to become his primary manager, which would be fine for him. It would help. A lot of people have different opinions of Paul Heyman. Some of the homies included, but it would help him looks wise. I mean, just him coming out with Paul Heyman is a good look. You know what I'm saying? If you think about the Brock Lesnar's and the Roman Reigns and even the CM Punks of the world, him just having that guy based off of prestige, based off of, what's been going on, it would just make him look like, way better. But even so, I don't think he really needed Paul Heyman. I don't think you need Paul Heyman right now. I think Braun Breaker was about to become whatever he's gonna become. He's gonna become a top guy anyway. So this is like a side quest that isn't necessary, and people will always draw parallels to Evolution. But Evolution was a very different story, in my opinion. Batista and Randy Orton were in very weird spots around that time. But like Randy Orton and Batista were nowhere near in the position that a Braun Breaker was, because they didn't have the NXT to build their profile. If I'm not mistaken, I don't believe they were champions before joining Evolution. Now, if I'm wrong, let me know, but I don't think so. I think they started getting the tag team belts and the IC belts once they joined Evolution. Maybe Randy did have a belt before then. Because I know he faced Edge for the belt, but I don't know if that was before or after. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But either way, their profile wasn't as high as, Braun Breaker has a bigger profile at this stage of his career versus where they were before they joined Evolution. Because remember, Batista wasn't even supposed to be in Evolution, right? So I still think Braun Breaker was gonna be fine regardless. I think someone else could have took that spot, but who would have took that spot that would have like got as much, praise as Braun Breaker and excitement. Understandable. Maybe Bronson Reed should have been the first person to take that spot. And this is where a lot of problems lie for a lot of fans. Why is Bronson Reed in this group if he was just feuding with Seth Rollins before? Understandable that you would question that, but a lot of things in wrestling often don't make sense at times. So, like that isn't a question, in my opinion, that I really care about because I was under the impression that if it wasn't for JC Mateo, that Bronson Reed would be in JC Mateo's position, which would have made a lot more sense to me, in my opinion, right? Because Bronson Reed was just with the new bloodline at Survivor Series. So if Bronson Reed would have came back and took JC Mateo's position, it would have made sense because they already had, something going on. Him as an enforcer versus JC Mateo is way more believable in clashing with the Jacob Fatu. And that would really get me excited for that clash. And JC Mateo, aka Jeff Cobbs, could have did something entirely different. He could have just debuted on the roster. He didn't have to debut as a part of whatever Soul Sokoa got going on. To me, that's a guy you could have, if you wanted to, you could have sent to NXT and did something, give Obafemi more people to go against. That would have been nice, right? But that's neither here nor there. Let's stay focused on Seth Rollins' faction. I don't, are they officially called the Vision, or did somebody just make that up? Whatever. Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker are very interesting choices. Do you go the full evolution route where you have Seth Rollins win the Money in the Bank briefcase and you have Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker win the tag team championships? Do you go that route? I would say yes. Because the only way this is going to work is if they stay together for a long time. And when I say a long time, I mean as long as Damage Control and as long as well, the first iteration of the Judgment Day. They need to be together for some time. They don't need to move so fast to the point where, because obviously I think the conclusion will be one, if not both of them turning on Seth Rollins. And then Paul Heyman just managing one or both of them. But I don't want to get to that too quickly. You got to let this faction marinate a little bit. So if Seth Rollins, which I'm starting to get the sneeze suspicion that he might win, hopefully I'll take LA Knight to win over Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank. Me personally right now, because Seth Rollins could just win the belt straight up. I don't like a multi-time Money in the Bank winner is a good thing. Edge has benefited from being a multi-time Money in the Bank winner. He won it from Mr. Kennedy the second time, like the Miz won it from Otis, but those are multi-time Money in the Bank holders. That's fine. But Seth Rollins is supposed to be like he's on him and Roman Reigns and all these guys up here. I think LA Knight should get it. And LA Knight casting in on John Cena would be poetic, in my opinion. Because no one else in that match I can see winning unless they just pull a fast one and so Sikoa win it, perhaps. But I don't see them doing that unless they're really, really ready to like get into the new generation. But I don't think Seth Rollins I would have rather Braun Breaker been in this match. A better story would have been Braun Breaker qualifying, winning, and Seth Rollins, he's playing the happy-go-lucky, yeah, my boy won, ha 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 ha. And then all of a sudden, because let's be clear, people are drawing parallels to Evolution because this is what this is. WWE often wrestling recycles booking, and that's across every company. And that's fine, bro. It's but so many stories you can tell. If you told 100 stories in wrestling, bro, I don't think you could get to 1,000 stories. So we're recycling or paying homage or paying tribute, whatever you want to say to characters, gimmicks, stories, blah 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 blah. That's fine because it's but so much you can do, right? But I think that would be more interesting than Seth, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, the goal should be to get Braun Breaker a championship, even to me from the standpoint of being Seth Rollins, because at the end of the day, I always so Seth Rollins. I love Seth Rollins, bro. I think he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. But I will say, a lot of his characters have been like directionless. Like, why are you doing what are you doing? Why are you doing what you're doing? What's the point of doing what you're doing? Because his character primarily has always been about the belt. But I thought we was kind of moving off of that, based off of I thought it was really just about making sure CM Punk, didn't get what he got, and you did that at WrestleMania. So you took out Roman. So his character should be about taking out the people who, he feels as though don't deserve to be in their positions and things like that. Him getting the belt, it's just a hostile takeover. Ha ha, we're gonna take over. That's a tale as old as time. Which is fine, bro. You need comic book villains and generic wrestling villains and stuff like that. But if his true objective is to build up these young guys, blah blah blah, they're just his lackeys, which means they're probably going to turn on him. But if they flip the script and his true objective is to build up the young guys, he have Braun Breaker qualify for Money in the Bank, then we would be like, yo, what is Seth Rollins really doing now? Like what is the motive? It would give us more questions. Like I think the best stories are stories that have a lot of questions, and then once those questions you have get answered, you're satisfied with the answer. I think that's the best. When WWE does that, that's the most satisfying for fans. With this, it's a lot of questions and where this is going, and I try not to jump to the end. Oh, when you read a book, you don't read the last page most of the time, right? But I kind of want to know, like, what if they don't get the tag team belts? What do they get out of this? In my opinion, has Braun Breaker hasn't been a tag team champ on the main roster. I know him and Baron Corbin with tag teams. Bronson Reed's title history. I need to go. He was a North American champion, if I'm not mistaken, but I just don't know. Do I have faith that this will work, quote unquote? I think it'll be as good enough as it can be. It's not gonna be bloodline levels, evolution levels. I don't even think it'll be Judgment Day levels of a good faction. I do think that it has the potential to definitely elevate Bronson Reed from coming back. I think Braun Breaker is fine regardless. All this can do is help him. I don't think it could hurt him unless he takes well, see, I just saw that DQ finish. Unless he start taking like stupid losses and DQ finishes in a row. But I think Bronson Reed will benefit from this the most. But Seth Rollins, man, I think we got to have a conversation about Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins is one of my favorites. But I'm gonna give it time. I'm gonna give it time. I just think that he gets placed in very weird positions sometimes, like the highlight, Paul Heyman turning on Roman and blah 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 was great. And the prospect of him getting a faction was great. And I'm not just saying this because Austin Theory wasn't put in it, but I am curious. I just don't know, guys. I need y'all to comment down. I really don't know what they're gonna do with this. And like I said, they got to be together, bro. All of this can't happen in a year. They can't turn on them within a year. They can't do all that within a year, bro. We got to at least do this to 2027, in my opinion. So. Let me know what y'all think, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for love and support as always. I know I asked a lot of questions, but I think that's what makes this community fun. We don't know everything. I don't know everything. I want us to engage in the conversation talking about it. So let me know what y'all think, man. See you guys very soon. Peace out.